70 à tout.
All right, let's get into the one and only story for tonight, and it pains Robert because um, it really because like when I because the what we'll be talking about is the kind of current state of Star Trek um, under like the JJ Alex Kurtzman regime, as it were. Um, I don't know if you I could not stand watching Star Trek Discovery, or STD as it's colloquially referred to as by the fans,
Oh yeah.
by the true fans of Star Trek. It's colloquially referred to as STD. It's just the initials of the show. But it's funny how it lines up like that. Um, but yeah, I watched like 3 episodes and it's like I'm out. It was just like, mm. But when CBS announced that it'd be coming out with a Picard show, I was very much interested in it because
I certainly was excited.
What was that?
I was certainly excited. It's like, oh, all right, maybe
Right.
maybe they got something going on here.
Exactly, because it was all the member berries, because I grew as much as I enjoy the original series. I was a child of Next Generation, and I grew up with you know Jean-Luc Picard as my Star Trek daddy. So and that one episode, I don't remember when, but he was like tortured. He's being tortured by a Cardassian, and like he was like he was basically redoing that scene from 1984 where it's like, oh, there's tell me that there's 5 lights even though there's only like 4 lights.
Which Kardashian? Chloe, Courtney?
Oh, but what is it? But at the end, it's he's released, um, and defiantly he screams to his torturers like, "There are only 4 lights," and so
that was a good, great scene.
yeah, so really good, really good television, really good, really strong performance. And so yeah, so understandably, I was very excited to hear about this new Picard show, and and then like as um, as trailers and teasers were coming out, I was, it got me a little bit more curious, and then the last, like I think one of the last ones we actually see, Jonathan Frakes, who played Commander Riker, and Marina Sirtis, who played Counselor Troy, appear in one of the trailers, and it's like, oh wow, yay! And then so all sorts of excited, but then I watched it.
Because we're thinking it's like, oh, it's a continuation of the Next Generation. Awesome! Like,
So we
let's
thought.
do this.
So we thought. Yeah. So we all hoped. Because I mean, I don't know, like because there's a lot of fans who hate what J.J. Abrams did with the Star Trek movies.
I wasn't one of them, but yeah, I understand like why.
I generally like them. I'll admit that I generally liked what he did with them, and I thought it was kind of clever to kind of do like a kind of like a alternate timeline thing, so you can like kind of tell new stories,
Yeah.
and not necessarily tread on old canon.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
and I actually thought the last one they did was the most Star Trek-y of them all.
Right, I remember you telling me that. But what was I saying? Right, I generally enjoy the JJ, as it's also colloquially known as the Kelvin timeline. Some people was like, "Oh, this isn't Star Trek. It's too much like an action movie." Blah blah blah. It's like I get it. I get it. I get it. I understand all the reasons why you don't consider it Trek. But again, I say like, this is a new timeline. This is a chance for them to tell new stories and not tread on old canon. Yada yada yada. Blah 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 blah
Exactly.
blah. But then Star Trek Picard happened, and god damn, is it a hot mess. It is a hot, stinking pile of God. It's a hot steaming pile, is what it is. I mean, just the writing is horrible. The characters are written terribly, and also, you know, also Patrick Stewart is like letting his full like lefty freak flag fly. Um, um,
Yeah.
as much as I stomped on your soul already, I wanted to, I guess I wanted to save this for the stream so I can get your actual reaction. But in the show, uh, you know, uh, the character of Jean-Luc Picard says that he was never a fan of science fiction.
Whoa. All right. Back up for a second. What did you say again?
In the show, the character of Jean-Luc Picard is talking to another character and says, "I never liked science fiction. I never got it."
What the fuck? Isn't that like a lot of like what he like reads like in the Next Generation? Like he's always reading like some sort of like science fiction-y like type of story or
Well, I
he
mean,
knows
it's
about.
like I guess you can consider it genre, but back next gen they did more Shakespeare stuff as opposed to like Jules Verne stuff. So it feels
Right.
like
I mean, yeah.
I mean if they read like if they were referencing Jules Verne a lot, then yeah, that would make sense.
But even then, it's like, what's the point of that like dialogue point at all? That doesn't add or well, it really doesn't even subtract from the characters. It's a useless statement.
Pretty much, it's more of like Patrick Stewart coming through a bit because I know Patrick Stewart. I think he admitted that he wasn't really a Star Trek or he wasn't really a science fiction type of person.
And that's fine if Patrick Stewart isn't like that.
Right.
I don't
But again, I
really
think
care.
it's just like it's Patrick Stewart peeking through the mask of Jean-Luc Picard. And it's like, how could
And
you
well,
not? How
it's
could
so
you
funny.
First of all, you have a career in Starfleet.
Science fiction.
Not, you have a no. Well, just speaking in the point of view of Jean-Luc Picard, you have a you always even in the show it in the dialogue it said like, oh, I would look up as a boy from the Picard Vineyard, I would look up into this and I'd always be looking up into the stars and asking like wondering what if or what's out there. And that was one, and then that was one of the major spurs for him to join Starfleet to go out there. And I mean, and like, so why wouldn't you be a fan of science fiction?
It's fucking horseshit.
I mean,
It just add it,
to be
of all the other revelations that you gave to me like this past weekend. Because I haven't personally seen this, but this just adds more onto the shit sandwich that this show is already.
right, because
And why I'll never watch.
Robert hasn't seen Picard, Star Trek Picard, but I have been watching, and I've been sharing. And then this past Sunday, when we got together to record the Circular Jerks main podcast, we hung out for a little bit afterwards, and I was just telling him about the crap that's been going on in Star Trek Picard. And I think one of the biggest ones was the disrespect that I guess that they are allowing Starfleet officers to have towards their commanding officers. And what I'm referencing is there's a scene. It's a flashback scene, but Captain Picard is trying to rally support for this connects to the JJ timeline where he's trying to rally ships together to go rescue Romulans before the supernova blows up their home planet. Um, and outside waiting for him is one of his subordinates. And at this time, he's an admiral. As he comes out of his meeting, the subordinate does not refer to him as sir or admiral. She refers to him as JL.
Fucking horseshit. That pisses me off so much.
Yeah, he was like, oh, so what they say, JL? He's like, what they say, JL? Did they approve the mission, JL? What's going on, JL?
In what Star Trek episode of any consequence or Star Trek movie of consequence would they show just the sheer disrespect to not only commanding officer, but like to like just obviously if like let's say like they were both admirals, right? Even then, no one of even of equal standing would just go like kind of this stupid nickname JL. No, it's even though that even in like the Next Generation when there's a familiarity between what's her face the doctor on board. I can't think of her name at the moment, but like because there was some sort of relationship. Yeah, Thresher.
Wesley's
between
mom.
Thresher and Jean-Luc Picard. There's a familiarity because they had some sort of relationship at some point.
Right.
But even then, there's not. She still refers to him in a respectful manner, even in private. And the fact that you would have a character who is lower ranking, come up to him and just say, "Hey, what's going on, JL?" It's like that's not. Yeah, just. And as someone from like obviously like the Starfleet isn't real, but it is a military organization, and the fact that you would have a subordinate refer to a superior officer in such a manner is fucking bullshit. The anger in my face just.
I know, and I knew Robert was gonna flip his lid, not just because he's a Star Trek fan, but also because he served. He's a former military man, specifically the Navy, which Starfleet is modeled after, and so
yeah, it's especially Space Navy. That's what Starfleet is.
Yeah, it's a Navy in space.
Oh.
And so so I know Robert would especially
JL.
Yeah. But I haven't even gone to like some of the deeper plots of the show because it also does the character of Data dirty too.
Well, the other thing that like you told me that really fucking infuriated me too was the fact of just the language that's used in a Star Trek episode.
Oh yeah.
Which is, listen, I'm all if you want to put this in like a different type of show, like, or you want to use obviously like in the Navy, as in the Navy, there's a lot of bad language that's used. Duh. But it's Star Trek. Star Trek is different. Star Trek is above a lot of kind of the foul language. It's above a lot of things, and the fact that they're just using that type of language in a Star Trek episode instead, it boggles my mind.
Right. Well, like to what Robert is referring to is one of the admirals drops an F bomb on uh, Picard. Um, Picard goes to Starfleet and has a meeting with one of the admirals and requests that he be reinstated temporarily so that he can go on this mission to go find one of Data's twin daughters, even though he was an android, but for some reason he's able to. They cloned his mind from some bullshit. But anyways, he requests that he be given a ship and a small crew, and so that he can go investigate this. And he understands that his rank of admiral, might be, to use a leftist word, problematic. So he's willing to take a demotion to captain. And the admiral spits back, like, I mean, I'm talking literally, like it's like she spit in his face. It's like, and she said, "Fucking hubris."
That is just that's fucking hubris. Let me tell you, it's like to use that type of language in a Star Trek episode is just
Right,
I can't believe it.
Right, because Star Trek is ultimately a family show. You could watch it with your mom, your dad, your little brother, little sister. Doesn't matter. Because it'll be safe. And yes, they talk about they talk about death. There's death depicted or violence, but it's kind of like that Star Trek violence where it's like very little consequence. No one like actually like really bleeds that much. And everything is like so choreographed. It's like it's laughable. But
And
once you start dropping F bombs, it's no longer family friendly.
no, the and yeah, okay, I know it's on like was it like the CBS app or whatever, but still, it's that's not Star Trek. Even on the Star Trek movies, like the new ones, they don't even use that type of language.
Or the spiciest that it gets is shit.
Yeah, that was it. Like a couple of times, maybe.
Right. Yeah, they really kept it like that PG-13 rating. Because I mean, even when it was PG-13, they were allowed one F bomb. That's why in X-Men First Class, Wolverine is the only one to use the F word in that entire movie.
And that makes sense because it's Wolverine.
Yeah, for the character, yes, for the character it makes sense.
The here's the other problem I have about like this new version of Star Trek too, right? With Discovery and now with I mean, I haven't seen an episode of Picard, but I've been hearing a lot of from what you said and what I've heard from other people is that another podcast that I listened to, they were talking about Star Trek, and one of the fans was like, don't you hate how like political that the new Star Trek has gotten, and obviously it's like, well, Star Trek's always been political. It's like, okay, here's the difference, right? In Gene Roddenberry's vision, he has a very like positive outlook towards what the future could bring. Like there's no people have gone above dealing with racial race relations. Money is not really much consequence. People have what they need, and it's about exploring and discovering new worlds and kind of and all that.
It's about the betterment of humanity.
It's
about
very,
and also the individual being the best version of themselves that they can be.
right. It's a very I mean it's a very humanistic show, if you
Right.
will, but it's like it's in its most positive i- that it can be. And
Optimistic and hopeful is probably the right words
right.
to describe it.
Now, obviously, I don't feel like that's a true vision, but I like that that's where like it's so different from every other type of like science fiction or like futuristic type show.
Hmm.
Um, but this and yeah, obviously it did have like some of the political topics, or obviously with the original series, there's a lot to do with the kind of dealing with the kind of like the Russian
Yeah, the
and
Cold War.
American relations. Right, but you have elements of episodes that kind of deal with those type of topics and deal with it in kind of like a positive manner. You have like the episode where you have uh, a planet where they go to, and you have people that have like black and white faces that are fighting people with white with black faces, and it's kind of showing the ridiculousness of racial or skin color tension. Uh, all in that for me, like though that's Star Trek. That doesn't bother me in the slightest. The stuff that's going on in this wave of Star Trek with like Picard and STD is just this woke. Let me shove this wokeness down your throat, and if you don't like it, you're a bigot, you're terrible, and it's throwing it right in your face,
Right. I mean,
and that's never what Gene Roddenberry envisioned.
right. I don't remember. I don't know where it started from, but uh, there is this idea of cultural vandalism, and this is exactly what it is. This like shows like SCD or Picard or even movies like the recent Star Wars trilogy under Disney. It's cultural vandalism. They're
Yeah,
tearing. It's like what they're trying to do with like the old Confederate statues. They're tearing them down. That's what they're doing. Yeah, that's what they're doing with our heroes. Luke Skywalker has to be torn down. Han Solo has to be torn down. Jean-Luc Picard has to be torn down. Spock has to be torn down, and he has to have an adopted human sister who teaches him how to be Spock. That's basically what happens in Star Trek Discovery. Um,
oh no, I didn't need to know that. Oh God.
yeah, I'm
Oh.
sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, but so it's cultural vandalism. It's the scene in Tim Burton's Batman where Joker comes into the museum and his henchmen are like spray painting like all the art. That's what it is. That's what they're
Yeah.
doing.
Look, we're being original. We're being cool. We're we're
Aren't we
ripping
being
down.
so radical and like progressive? It's like, you know what, we're gonna, Luke Skywalker, the most hopeful, optimistic character in the entire universe. We're gonna make him into a grumpy old man, and then we're gonna have a girl beat him in a lightsaber duel.
Oh.
So yeah, we're gonna have a girl who had no training at all, who just picked up a lightsaber like a couple of days ago, beat a Jedi Master.
Just. Uh.
Yeah.
So for me, here's how I see it. Like the recent three films of Star Wars don't exist to me anymore.
Yeah.
Those are dead. Those are dead.
Like, what sequel
Um,
trilogy?
the um, the idea of Star Trek Discovery and Picard, that's not Star Trek. That's some other horseshit that can be tossed in the garbage. I'll just go back and I there's a lot of Star Trek to watch that has a lot of rewatchability. I'll watch
Yeah,
that.
I mean, well, my absolutely favorite Trek show is Deep Space Nine.
I keep hearing. That's one I haven't watched, and I keep hearing that everyone tells me that. Oh yeah, you gotta watch Deep Space Nine. That's the one to watch.
Seriously, watch it. And I mean, it's the first two seasons are a little bit hard to watch because it's still trying to fit within the mold of TNG, which was still kind of going on at the time.
Right.
But yeah, once you get past those two seasons, it's really great. It's absolutely my favorite Star Trek show. Captain Benjamin Sisko is my favorite captain. I mean, I know that's heresy to say, but he's my favorite captain because he's the fucking
Wow. That's high praise.
yes, exactly. He's the fucking man because he's played by Avery Brooks, and he just brings this level of coolness and badassery to the role of a Starfleet captain. It's just like, yeah, this is the Starfleet captain I've always wanted, you know?
I mean, I mean, I'll always have in my heart like I'm a Captain Kirk guy.
Oh, dude, after you watch Deep Space Nine, you're gonna be a Cisco guy.
Okay. Oh man. All right.
You're gonna be a
I
Cisco
won't.
guy.
I won't challenge you right now. I'll watch it. And I'll check out for myself.
All right, you do that, all right. But you know, once you get to season, I think season 4, maybe season 4, you're gonna be a Cisco guy.
Okay. All right.
All right, there you are, folks. I'm laying the gauntlet down right now. All right.
Who do you think's a better captain, Picard or Kirk? And it's like
I know.
you're like, nope.
Like false binary, Cisco. False binary, Cisco.